Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever opened your math book, looked at a page, and just thought, hang on a second, why are there letters in here? Isn't this supposed to be math class? Well, if you've ever thought that, you are definitely not alone. But don't you worry. Today, we're going to solve this mystery together.
And you know what? That's a really good question. Why are letters like X and A all of a sudden hanging out with our numbers? The good news is there's a super simple reason. And once you get it, I promise, math actually gets a lot easier. So let's find out how.
To understand why we do this, we're going to take a little trip way back in time. We're heading to ancient Egypt, where artists had some very specific instructions for creating their amazing art.
Okay, so picture this. You're an artist in ancient Egypt, and to draw people the right way, you had to follow one very important rule. The height of a person's forehead had to be exactly 3 times the height of their knee. This wasn't just a suggestion, it was the rule for every single person they drew.
So let's see how this actually works. If the knee in your drawing is 1 centimeter high, the forehead has to be 3 centimeters. If the knee is 2 centimeters, well, the forehead is 6. If the knee is 10 centimeters, the forehead is 30. You see that pattern, right? It's always just times 3. But oh my gosh, can you imagine writing this down for every possible size you could ever draw? That would take forever.
And this leads to a huge idea. What if there was a shortcut, a way to write this rule down just once so that it works for a tiny little drawing, a giant wall painting, and literally everything in between?
And this, my friends, is where letters come in to save the day. Think of a letter like X as just an empty box, a placeholder. You can put any number you want into this box. So, if we just say the knee height is X, then the forehead height is simply 3 times X. And boom, just like that, one short sentence works for any size we can think of.
And guess what? You just wrote your first piece of algebra. This little math sentence, 3 times x, has a special name. It's called an expression. It's just a fancy word for a mix of numbers, letters, and our operation signs, like plus, minus, or times.
Now mathematicians, they like to keep things really neat and tidy. So to make things even shorter and simpler, they created a few secret rules. These rules help us write our expressions in the cleanest, neatest way possible. Let's learn the first one right now.
Okay, the first and most common rule is that we can actually make the multiplication sign disappear. It's a simple 2-step trick. First, you just push the number and the letter together. And second, and this is super important, you always put the number first. Let's look at some examples so you can see what I mean. Instead of writing 3 times A, we just write 3A. Simple? If you see A times 2, remember our rule. The number has to go first, so it becomes 2A. It even works with negative numbers, so x times negative 2 becomes negative 2x. See how much cleaner and shorter that looks?
Okay, so what if we're multiplying the same letter over and over again, like A times A times A? Instead of writing it all out, we can use another shortcut. We write the letter A just one time, and then we write a little 3 up in the corner. This little number is called an exponent, and it's just telling us how many times to multiply that letter by itself.
All right, you're going to love this one. The number 1 is kind of like a secret agent in algebra. When you multiply a letter by 1, the 1 just goes invisible. So 1 times A just becomes A. We all know the 1 is there doing its job, but we don't have to write it. The same thing goes for negative 1. Instead of writing negative 1 times A, we can just write negative A. It's just another one of those rules to keep things looking tidy.
So we've handled multiplication. What about division? Well, you guessed it. There's a simple rule for that too.
This one might be the easiest rule of all. In algebra, we almost never use that old division symbol. Instead, we just write it as a fraction. That's the whole trick.
Take a look at these. A divided by B turns into the fraction A over B. 5 divided by x becomes 5 over x. The first number or letter always goes on top. It's just a new, cleaner way to show that you're dividing. Okay, you have learned the why and the how. Now, let's put it all into practice. We'll do a couple together so you can see just how easy this is. All right, let's try one. How would you write 4 times A using our new, cool algebra rule? Think about it for a second. What do? Did you get 4A? That's it, you got it. We put the number first and we hide that little multiplication sign. Awesome job.
You're doing great. Let's try another one. How would you rewrite x divided by 6? Remember what we do with that division sign? It becomes x over 6. Perfect.
The division sign just turns into that little line in a fraction. You are totally getting the hang of this.
And just like that, look at you. In just a few minutes, you've taken your first real step into the world of algebra. That is a huge deal. You learn the big secret of why we even use letters, and you learn the secret rules to write math in a clean and simple way. So, let's do a super quick review of what we learned. The most important idea is that letters are just placeholders for numbers. That's it. And to keep our math looking neat, we have two simple rules. We hide the multiplication sign, and we change the division sign into a fraction.
You did an absolutely amazing job today. Seriously, the next time you see a letter in your math homework, you're not going to panic. You're going to know exactly what it's doing there. Keep practicing these new rules, and soon they'll feel totally natural. Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you next time.